The car hummed steadily as the group sat in tense silence, each caught in their thoughts. Alden Reeves' guarded demeanor was practically tangible, his gaze fixed forward, while Harris seemed deliberately wary, his sharp eyes occasionally flicking toward Alden. The others were quiet, trying to piece together the dynamics of their new ally and the danger looming behind them. Ethan broke the silence. "You said DARC predicts movements, behaviors, even mistakes," he began, glancing at Alden through the rearview mirror. "How far does that go?" Alden's voice was measured and matter-of-fact as he answered, even though Ethan was talking to Harris. "Far enough," he replied. "They don't just watch. Every action, every hesitation you make is cross-referenced against patterns they've cataloged over years. They don't guess where you'll go. They already know before you decide. Their passive reconnaissance systems are completely outmatched by anything else out there. They are truly undetectable until they decide to target, and they monitor everyone and everything." Liam shifted uncomfortably, his fingers tightening around his tablet. "So, they knew we'd reach out to you?" Alden turned his head slightly to look at Liam. "Not exactly. They knew you'd turn to someone, but you surprised them. They underestimated your family, and they didn't predict me defecting." Harris scoffed quietly. The sound was sharp in the otherwise quiet cabin. "Defect," he muttered, his tone dripping with disdain. "That's a generous term." Alden met Harris's gaze, his expression hardening. "I didn't have the luxury of staying clean, Harris. You know that better than most." Harris leaned slightly against the door, a bitter edge creeping into his voice. "I didn't sell out." Alden's voice dropped, tense but calm. "You think I sold out? You think I didn't fight back every chance I got?" Harris's glare didn't waver. "You fought back, by staying inside their system, by helping them refine their tools." "I stayed inside because I knew I could do more damage from within." Alden shot back, his tone sharp. "I didn't sell out, I survived. And I made sure their systems weren't as perfect as they thought." "Why do you think I went to work at OIS in cybersecurity as an ex-ranger? My time in RC made me a threat, made my squad a threat. When the wars went digital, so did we. We were the ones developing the infrastructure that DARC operates on, except we did it to protect. DARC got their hands on it and gave it to you, and you turned it into a weapon. The weapon that got my friends killed," Harris said. "Why did you even reach out, Harris, if you still blame me?" asked Alden. "Because having you here gives us an even stronger upper hand on DARC," Harris replied. "The kid is a hacker protege, and you're the master. Having you work with Liam, that will be something they never see coming." The silence stretched, loaded and heavy, until Ethan spoke again, his voice sharper. "What's their end game?" he asked, glancing toward Alden. "With my propulsion system, I mean. What's the point?" Alden hesitated, his jaw tightening before he answered. "Power. Your system isn't just innovative, it's transformative. Fusion propulsion like yours eliminates conventional dependencies. It opens doors to expansion, exploration, and energy independence. DARC doesn't want to use it, they want to own it. If they own it, they will have the power to control humanity's expansion." Ethan absorbed that, his hands tightening around his knees. "Own it," he repeated quietly, the thought bitter. Maya's voice interrupted softly. "Why would they want to own something that helps people?" Everyone turned to look at her. Maya was clutching her bunny tightly, her wide eyes fixed on Alden, waiting for an answer. Alden stared at her for a moment, his guarded exterior cracking just slightly. "Because some people don't care about helping," he said finally. "They only care about power." Maya frowned, holding her bunny tighter. "My daddy wants to help people," she said. Sophia leaned in and placed a gentle hand on her shoulder, silently comforting her. Maya's comment had caught Ethan off guard, the way she did oh so often. He always joked that she was an old soul. He just wanted to protect his family and make a contribution to mankind's expansion into the cosmos, and some government agency, hell-bent on control, was threatening his life's work and his family, and he wouldn't allow that. He shifted his gaze back to Alden, his expression darkening. "And you helped them build this, all of it. Why did you turn?" Alden's reply came quietly, but with steel in his voice. Because I saw what happens when destruction is complete. I watched them use what I built to hurt people, and I decided I couldn't stand by anymore. Harris muttered under his breath again, his skepticism palpable, but the tension simmered instead of boiling over. Alden's gaze didn't falter as he looked at Harris and said, "I didn't come here to erase anything. I came here to make sure DARC pays for what they've done. To you, to me, to everyone." Alden turned his gaze back to Ethan, his expression unyielding. "If we move smart, we stay ahead of them. DARC doesn't make mistakes often, but their size is their weakness. Decentralization works both ways. If we apply pressure in the right places, we can break them." The car fell quiet again, each person left to process the gravity of Alden's words. Ethan exchanged a glance with Sophia, then Liam, before finally turning his gaze back to the road ahead. For now, Alden Reeves wasn't someone they couldn't trust fully, but his knowledge and his resolve were critical to staying ahead of DARC. And for the Caldwell family, that was enough. The sterile glow of monitors flickered across the vast surveillance hub deep within DARC's central facility. The room buzzed with hushed urgency as analysts furiously typed commands, scanning feeds, recalibrating models, trying to make sense of the failure unfolding before them. At the center of it all stood Director Eric Talon, his expression unreadable, but the tension in his stance unmistakable. He had cultivated an empire of information control, and now, in the span of mere hours, it was unraveling. One of the lead analysts, Marlo Kent, stared at her screen, her fingers frozen above the keyboard. Her heart raced as she processed the reality of the situation. "Who initiated the override?" Talon asked, his voice calm, but dangerously sharp. Marlo hesitated. "It came from the Caldwell network," she admitted. "Someone manipulated the recalibration, and it wasn't Ethan. He doesn't have the skill set to be able to do this." Talon's jaw tightened, though he remained eerily composed. "Liam Caldwell." Marlo nodded stiffly. "The teenager. It matches his past digital behavior, his signatures, his coding style. This was his work." A flicker of something passed through Talon's gaze, something cold. "So he's more capable than we thought. They have an edge we didn't anticipate." "We move now," Talon ordered, his voice quiet but absolute. "Deploy a team. Find Reeves. Secure the Caldwells. We don't lose any more control." Marlo hesitated for half a second. "Sir, the predictive models." Talon turned to her, his cold stare freezing her mid-sentence. "Forget the models. This isn't prediction anymore, it's action. We find them. Now." DARC's network activated at full capacity, the fractured factions within the organization forced into immediate alignment. The command had been given, and the hunt had begun. The facility starkly contrasted with the frantic energy that had gripped the family in the past 24 hours. As the car rolled past a secure checkpoint, reinforced barriers loomed in the distance, their metallic sheen reflecting the harsh overhead lights. The corporate state alliance had spared no expense in ensuring this compound remained untouchable by outside forces, including DARC. Sophia glanced at Ethan as the vehicle slowed. "This is it," she murmured. "The people who said they could help." Ethan nodded but said nothing. The weight of their escape still clouded his mind, and the looming uncertainty of what came next. Would they truly be safe here? And at what cost? Liam was the first to step out of the car inside the facility's interior bay. He studied the setup with analytical precision. The security drones patrolling the perimeter, the layers of encrypted locks embedded into the access points. "They've got some serious tech," he muttered. "They need it," Alden responded, sliding out of the vehicle behind him. "This isn't just about defense. It's about survival." Harris watched Alden closely, his skepticism unwavering. If this place is so secure, why didn't DARC shut them down yet? Alden let out a slow breath. "Because they don't know everything." That was a lie, or at least a partial one. DARC knew something about this facility and the partnership that had sparked its creation, but not enough to do anything about it without tipping their hand. The state they were in had a history of fierce desire for independence, an over 400-year history. The leaders had made sure that they protected themselves, their companies, and their people from anything or anyone that would threaten that independence. If DARC came here, it would have to be with force. They were greeted at the entrance by a man in his late 40s, his crisp suit tailored, but not overly formal. He carried himself with authority, though there was a pragmatic sharpness to his stance, someone accustomed to dealing with high-stakes operations. A small insignia on his badge identified him as Nathan Kane, one of the lead liaisons between the state government and the corporation funding Ethan's research. "Dr. Caldwell," Kane greeted, extending a hand. "You made it." Ethan hesitated briefly, but shook his hand. "Thanks to some help." Kane nodded, his gaze sweeping over the rest of the group before lingering on Alden. "And you, Reeves. I had my doubts when I heard your name. You were deep inside DARC's network for years." Alden met his gaze evenly. "Yes, I was. Now I am here, and I know exactly how we dismantle them." Kane studied him for a moment before nodding slightly. "We'll see. It seems convenient that you defect now. Why not before?" Alden bristled at the accusation. "I wanted to break them from the inside," he said. "That kind of work takes time. I also never saw the people who DARC went after fight like this, or have the connections. It gave me hope and resolve that this was the time." The group was ushered inside, the facility unfolding before them in sleek, modern efficiency. Screens displayed real-time data feeds, satellite images, encrypted communication logs. Everything pointed to a well-orchestrated defense system designed to counter the kind of threat DARC posed. Sophia wasted no time pulling up her notes as she walked. "My friend Lisa decrypted some of the files on this drive. We need to cross-reference them with what Reeves knows." "We already started," Kane responded. "Lisa works with us and sent us her findings ahead of your arrival." This information caught Sophia off guard. She and Lisa had been friends for years, and now she questioned why. Had Lisa just been doing her job, or was their friendship real? She was left questioning everything, but there wasn't time for questions or hesitation. Sophia blinked. "Did she tell you about the internal fractures in DARC's leadership?" Kane looked at her. "She hinted at it," he said. "Reeves, how deep do those fractures go?" Alden folded his arms, his expression tightening. "Deep enough that they're slowing down. The more aggressive faction wants full control. Full seizure of technological assets like Ethan's propulsion system and use of them to re-centralize power under their banner. The other faction believes in a quieter influence, spreading through economic and technological dependencies without force." Ethan exhaled, shaking his head. "So, they're fighting about how they take control, not if they do it." Alden nodded. "Exactly. And if we apply pressure to the right fault lines, we can make them collapse on themselves." Liam tapped his tablet, his voice serious. "I've already started mapping weak spots in their surveillance architecture with what Reeves gave me. There's a vulnerability in their layered encryption. It's designed to self-correct, but if I force an input loop, I can stall their tracking on a much larger scale." Kane looked at Liam with something close to admiration. "Impressive," he said. "We could integrate that into our wider disruption efforts." Sophia chimed in, her resolve strengthening. "Then let's work. We have the team, we have the knowledge, and we have the motive." Ethan, however, remained silent for a long moment. He watched the group around him, the state officials, the engineers assisting in defense, the careful balance of alliances built out of necessity rather than trust. His propulsion system had become the key to something else just as large as what its original intent was for. The thought unsettled him. As the team continued strategizing, Kane turned to Ethan, studying him carefully. "Dr. Caldwell," he said, voice level but firm, "I know you're hesitant. You built something incredible, and now it's tangled in all this. But make no mistake, if DARC wins, it's not just about your family. It's about everyone." Ethan's words eluded him in the moment, and instead he just slowly nodded. For now, he would move forward. But the question that haunted him remained. Was his creation worth the war unfolding around it? The room was quiet except for the faint hum of the tablet on Ethan's desk. He sat slouched forward, his fingers interlaced, his gaze fixed on the propulsion schematics. The weight of uncertainty bore down on him, filling the space between moments. He had built something extraordinary, but at what cost? Liam stepped into the room cautiously, studying his father's posture. He knew that look, the way doubt seeped into Ethan's every thought. Pulling up a chair, Liam sat beside him, letting the silence linger before speaking. "Dad," Liam started, his voice steady but soft. "You can't let this get to you." Ethan glanced at him briefly, exhaustion evident in his eyes. "It's not that simple, Liam. What if I'm putting all of you through something you don't deserve, for something I should have just given up?" Liam frowned, shaking his head. "Don't do this. Don't doubt yourself like this. You didn't run. You didn't do any of this because of some machine. You did it for us. You did it because you believe in something bigger, something better." Ethan exhaled, leaning back in his chair. "I don't know if I believe that anymore." Before Liam could respond, the door creaked open, and Sophia stepped in, her gaze immediately landing on them. "What's going on in here?" she asked, her tone full of concern and a real affinity for Ethan. Liam looked up at her, then back at Ethan. "Dad's questioning if he is doing the right thing." Sophia's brow furrowed as she stepped closer, her hands resting on Ethan's shoulders. "Ethan," she said softly and resolutely, "don't you dare think for one second that what you're doing is the wrong choice. You didn't build the propulsion system for yourself. You built it because you saw what it could mean for the world. And you didn't run to protect your work. You ran to protect us. To protect Maya." As if on cue, Maya wandered into the room, clutching her bunny. Her small voice broke through the tension. "Daddy's work is going to change the world because he wants to help people," she said brightly, her innocent sincerity cutting straight to Ethan's heart. "That's what Mommy always says." Ethan turned to look at her, his expression softening as he reached out to pull Maya onto his lap. She giggled, snuggling into him, her bunny squished between them. Sophia sat down beside him, her hand resting gently on his arm. "You see," Liam said, his voice lighter now, "even Maya gets it. You're not fighting for yourself, Dad. You're fighting for us, and for people you don't even know and will never know." Ethan looked between them, Liam's determined gaze, Sophia's unwavering support, and Maya's small, comforting presence. Slowly, his shoulders relaxed, and the exhaustion in his eyes gave way to something stronger, resolve. "All right," Ethan said, his voice steady, though the weight of his words carried through the room. "We'll keep fighting. Together." Sophia smiled softly, leaning into him. "That's all we've ever needed." Maya grinned, squeezing her bunny as if to hold on to the moment. "Daddy's going to change the world," she declared, earning a laugh from Liam and a small smile from Ethan. The room fell into a peaceful silence, the family's unity holding everything together. Outside, the world pressed on with its dangers and uncertainties. But here, they had each other, and that was enough to keep moving forward. The briefing room hummed with activity. Screens lined the walls, displaying live feeds of encrypted communication, dark surveillance patterns, and the complex schematics of Ethan's propulsion system. Representatives from the Corporate State Alliance worked alongside Alden, Harris, Sophia, Ethan, and Liam, each contributing to the counter-strategy that would dismantle DARC's grasp. Liam stood at the center of the room, his tablet connected to the main system, projecting a digital map of DARC's vulnerabilities. His voice carried confidence as he explained the adjustments he'd made to exploit their fractures. "This loop here," he said, pointing to a highlighted section, "is designed to stall their predictive algorithms. It feeds false data into the system like decoys, fake geolocations, even fabricated communications. It won't last forever, but it'll give us enough time to weaken them." One of the corporate engineers nodded approvingly. If the input loop is sustained for at least 48 hours, it could disrupt their network beyond recovery. Harris, leaning against the wall with arms crossed, raised a brow. "Let's hope they don't have a backup plan." "They do," Alden interjected, his tone sharp but focused. "DARC always has contingencies. The difference here is scale, They're used to targeting smaller groups, individuals, isolated operations. This is bigger. They've underestimated the scope of what we're doing. Sophia leaned forward, her hands resting on the table as she spoke. And what exactly are we doing? Alden met her gaze directly. A coordinated strike. We're not just disrupting their surveillance, we're exposing them. Publicly. Kane cleared his throat, stepping forward. We're preparing a joint release, he explained, his voice calm but purposeful. Once you send the final override through their network, we'll go live with the data Lisa decrypted. Every connection, every abuse of power, every internal conflict, everything DARC has tried to bury will be out in the open. Ethan frowned, crossing his arms as he considered the implications. So, it's not just about stopping them. It's about dismantling them. Kane nodded. Once DARC's credibility is gone, their ability to operate will collapse. The decentralized structure that protects states like ours will hold strong. Sophia glanced at Ethan, her expression firm. This is what we need. Ethan nodded slowly, though the weight of the decision pressed heavily on him. Maya wandered into the room, clutching her bunny as she stepped up beside Ethan. She looked up at him, her voice soft but curious. Daddy, does this mean DARC can't hurt us anymore? Ethan crouched down beside her, placing his hand on her cheek. That's the plan, sweetheart, he said, his voice steady. We're going to make sure they can't hurt anyone. Maya smiled, squeezing her bunny tightly. You'll change the world. Liam grinned from a spot at the console. No pressure, Dad. The room lightened just slightly, the tension breaking for a brief moment. But as Maya and Sophia left to prepare dinner, the focus quickly returned to the plan ahead. Harris straightened, his expression serious as he addressed the group. DARC's not going to sit quietly while we do this. Once we start, they'll retaliate, and hard. Alden nodded. That's why we must act fast. Liam, can you finalize the false data loop? Liam nodded confidently. I'm almost there. Give me an hour. Kane turned to Ethan. And you? Are you ready for your part? Ethan paused briefly, his mind racing as he considered the scope of what they were about to do. He glanced at Liam, then at the schematics projected on the screen, and finally at Alden. I'm ready, he said firmly. Let's do this. With the plan finalized, the group dispersed to their tasks. The countdown to the operation had begun, and the stakes had never been higher.